You good boy. All right, Dale, sit down and start asking me questions.
All right.
So how you doing, son?
I'm doing good.
Are you a Michigan deer hunter?
I've been a lifelong Michigan deer hunter.
How many years? All your life?
My whole life. I'll be 59 this year.
Just such a child. I hang out with such youth. It's good to hang out with youth.
I enjoy this because, I mean, man, you've been part of my whole life and my whole family's life.
How about outside? Are we recording right now?
Yep, we're recording.
This is important.
Mainly just go on for this
This
camera
is
right
important, spontaneous stuff. So you're a Michigan deer hunter, so we're already blood brothers.
Yep.
So we share a powerful spirit. But let's say we weren't Michigan deer hunters.
Right.
Have you followed the Ultimate Soul Music soundtrack all your life?
I definitely have. My oldest brother, this is where I got introduced to.
Stop and think of the connection between the Spirit of the Wild, Fred Bear, Michigan, November 15, the rut, and then it's accelerated and intensified. Is it not because of the music? Fred Bear's song notwithstanding. But even if I was a complete animal rights jerk, which, by the way, if I was an animal rights jerk, I couldn't create the music I create. But let's say some miracle happened and I was a complete idiot. You'd still have to love the music.
Totally. I mean, there's no better rock and roll on the planet. And
here's a rock and roll.
We looking forward to always going to your concert. We'll be in Sterling Heights coming up here in July.
Freedom Hill. You know, wherever I show up, my concerts turn into Freedom Hill.
Exactly.
Because I inject certain freedom demands. If you notice how I often predictably inject certain freedom demands, no matter where I am. I mean, I'll drive down the highway and a guy will wave and I go, "Don't forget to stand up for the Second Amendment."
So let's talk a little bit about your induction into the Legends of Hall of Fame, or Outdoor Hall of Fame, and Michigan Outdoor Hall of Fame.
Wow. Well, those that decided, they called me, and I was recommended in Michigan by Richard P. Smith.
Okay.
Great man.
Great man.
He should be in charge of all hunting regulations in Michigan. I swear.
I'm in contact with him quite a bit.
And he just lost his beautiful wife, Lucy. So we're praying for Richard. Right. But he was kind enough to tell the the old guard of Michigan outdoors writers. I love them. I love them all. But Richard go, nobody's promoted conservation around the globe even close to what Ted Nugent's done for the last 60 years. They go, what do you mean? Well, no matter on tour in Europe and Japan, he always talks about the spirit of the wild. He always talks about the mystical play of the air. Always talks about being clean and sober so you can get close to a white-tailed deer and hit a grouse. See, those pragmatic references are more powerful than a guy talking about the velocity of a low base 8 load in 12 gauge, which is important, and I know what that velocity is, and I know how important 8-shot is on a grouse and a woodcock, but over and over. I guarantee if you Googled right now an outdoor magazine, they would talk about the 30-06. Enough already. We should, Boone and Crockett. I mean, I could go on some tangents here because I'm really good at it. But ultimately, I'm honored and humbled. The Outdoor Legends Hall of Fame, thanks to Jimmy Seitz, he got a hold of the team. And he said, I've been watching Ted Nugent all my life, even as a rock and roll fan. If he's talking about his new album, he talks more about conservation. Yes. And so he said he should be in the Legends Hall of Fame. And I'm honored because if Fred Bear's there, I'd love to share that campfire with him. But I think it's all of our job in a world that's gone really ugly. There's such thing as an animal rights scam. Well, they get a lot of press. Our side doesn't, so I made sure I turned the tables whenever I had a podium, an interview, a concert, a round table. You've seen me all my life do that. So I'm honored. They named me Outdoorsman of the Year. Awesome. And I probably am because I'm the only guy who shoots squirrels for his dogs every day. But I am an outdoorsman, and I promote it and celebrate it. I don't keep it to myself. You've read it all your life. Well, we're loners. Well, that's counterproductive. So loners don't promote what they believe in while there's unlimited forces lying about what we believe in. You've watched me, Pete, all my life. So, Outdoorsman of the Year. All right. Cool. I will earn that. Legends of the Outdoors Induction Hall of Fame. Thank you. Down at Bass Pro, Johnny Morris and the team. And Michigan Outdoors Hall of Fame. Thank you. I'm honored. I'm humbled. I accept it on behalf of you guys. I accept it on behalf of those that are still down to earth, grounded, morally, intellectually, physically, and spiritually connected to God's miracle, knowing instinctively, okay, it's sport because it's challenging. Yes, it's recreation because it recreates our spirit. But it's a job, it's a duty, it's a moral obligation to balance the herds every year and to make sure the fish don't overpopulate and become stunted and kill each other. See, those sentences have never been uttered in a school in America, have they? But that's the missing link. So that's where the insanity, the evil of anti-hunting metastasized. So I saw that when I was a teenager, and I was being attacked by hippies for murdering innocent animals, which is just so ridiculous. It's called barbecue hippies. And for carrying a gun, which is also perfect. Mm-hmm. God gave me a gift of life. And our anti-justice failed court system guarantees that we'll encounter evil, dangerous, violent criminals every day. They keep letting them out. So now more than ever, as I enter my 78th deer season, to carry a gun and to harvest a surplus every natural season of harvest is a moral obligation, not just to perform, but to promote. And so I accept those honors on behalf of all the conservation families. And by the way, thank you, everybody who stops Shemane and I every day and thanks us, because I have a big mouth, not to be confused with, well, I'm not into politics. Well, Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama would like to thank you for not standing up. I stand up. And when you call me an extremist and a radical, I go, yeah, extremely radical for God, family, country, Christian, Constitution, conservative, conservation. So I think that's, if you talk to the people that are inducting me into the halls of fame and the outdoorsman of the year, I'm sure that Richard P. Smith and Jimmy Seitz and the team, and they've said this to me. So thank you. I'm honored. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Everybody knows about your whole Fred Bear and everything, but is there, with this honor coming now, looking back, is there like an unsung hero? Maybe somebody, you said you started out at deer camp really when you were a young child and all the way up to these times. Is there somebody through those days that maybe is an unsung hero that taught you something, or really you learned a tradition from them?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure there's a lot of them probably.
Oh boy. I'm rather buoyant because of the incredible superheroes that I've been able to hang out with. Yeah. A lot of people in the Mystical Flight of the Arrow and the Backstrap Celebration family should remember the name George Nichols. George Nichols, Bruce Gilpin, Raleigh Harms, Roy Case in Wisconsin. Roy Case guided Fred Bear to create an early archery season. That was Roy Case's idea. And I've been after the Wisconsin Bowhunters, of which I'm a life member, and I don't want to be too critical here, but why the Wisconsin Bowhunters haven't created a Roy Case Day and a Roy Case statue baffles me. Because Roy was shoulder to shoulder with George Nichols, Bruce Gilpin, the first archery season in the Allegan State Park. Was it 37? 41, whatever it was, before I was born. Roy Case, Ben Pearson, Howard Hill, Fred Bear, Jim Doherty. These people were visionaries. And so that those names aren't household words like Fred Bear's is a letdown for me. So I'll say them again. Jim Doherty, Roy Case, Ben Pearson out of Arkansas. I kept in touch with his widow after he died. Howard Hill. Certainly the Michigan heroes, Bruce Gilpin, the names George Nichols had the Jackson Archery Shop, and he used to make all of Fred Bear's arrows. And nobody knows that, and it's important. It's like in Nels Grumley. I think people should know the name. And I know the inner circle of Mystical Flight of the Arrow clan. They know the name Nels Grumley, but I met Nels Grumley in Grayling in 1955 or whatever it was. So I've been in the presence, and that's why I'm so uppity. Well, there's a whole bunch of reasons I'm so uppity, because God made me uppity. Mm-hmm. God made me vibrant and alive. And just by being vibrant and alive kind of scares some people, which is I pity you people that are scared by my vibrant uppityness. So when I got a chance to hang out with Fred, and once I figured out who he was, stopping at the little shack in Grayling in the 50s, I was already gung-ho guitar. Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, so many of the originators, Les Paul, all these guys, Leo Fender, because I was born in 48. So in 48, it was just after Les Paul electrified the guitar, and it was right around the time that Fred Bear has unleashed this celebration of, long-range marksmanship is exciting, and I love it. I'm a crosshair, aim small, miss small, sniping guy. But Fred, contrary to what Roy Weatherby was developing for long-range ballistic capability, which again is awesome. I'm a huge fan. I'm a participant. I have crosshairs every day. I train every day. I like hitting targets at 1,000 yards. But Fred thought there was something more important. Mm-hmm. The challenge and difficulty getting within bow range, and he said it in a lot of his promotions, will teach you more about our relationship with wildlife and deer hunting than a lifetime of stretching the range out. And again, I'm not criticizing stretching the range out. It's awesome. And quite honestly, without us gun hunters, I'm a gun hunter. I kill them with my Bronco because there's too many. But anyhow, that intimacy of understanding the accountability of a cautious step and wait. Not stepping on that stick. And for me, I'm really uppity. Just listen to my guitar songs. So I think it was more of a challenge for me to slow the hell down and understand my place in nature, because I was already high velocity rock and roll concerts 300 days a year. So it was more difficult for me than the average guy. In fact, I envy the Chuck Adams of the world, because and Claude Pollington. There's another name, Claude Pollington.
Yep, I remember him.
Claude Pollington's powerful force in our sport. Those guys, if they were doing an interview with you right now, they'd just get past the salutations. They'd still be saying, "How are you doing?" Because the best bow hunters in the world are really calm, slow talkers, which means I had to really try harder than they did. So it's the ultimate sport. People go, "Well, that's not a sport. Nobody's shooting back at you." What the hell? They've actually said that.
Yeah.
Well, if it's not a sport, if they're not shooting, this isn't war. They go, "Well, he's a coward. He kills innocent animals." You don't need courage to kill an animal. There's no courage involved. Maybe grizzly bear hunting and elephant hunting, which are also perfect. But the critics of our sport, which I am bombarded with because I'm the guy on the front lines. And when they say stupid stuff like that, I find it like a Richard Pryor comedy moment. It's so stupid. You're cowards because you kill a deer. You don't need to be brave to kill a deer. You just got to set the alarm and get up. So this is a fascinating time in 2026, 250 years of the American dream. And I just did an interview with Don Graves, the last survivor of Iwo Jima. And he told me about dragging his buddies off the mountain. And I've had these conversations with these heroes all my life, since the Amboy Duke, since the mid-60s, because these military veterans would seek me out because they'd hear my interviews talking about the Second Amendment. They go, "Well, that's what my buddies died for. They died for the constitutional guarantees." And they go, "This hippie-looking rock and roll guy, kind of a crazy guy, is talking about why my buddies were willing to die." What an incredible American point. So I would encourage everybody right now, and Michigan deer hunters, you have to promote the sport everywhere you go. Just be kind. How about in outdoor life and the professional bow hunter? Don't wear your camo in public. It might upset people. Whoa. No. Always wear your camo in public and be polite.
Exactly.
And hold the door open for the lady at the grocery store. Wave someone into a parking spot. Wave and say hello to a cop.
Yep.
Take a challenge coin and give it to a vet. No, don't hide our beloved, perfect lifestyle. Spotlight it. Look at that's what Fred Bear said. He said, I invented that. He said, thank you. No one in our sport ever talked like that you should always wear camo and an NRA hat and celebrate the things that are being attacked that happen to be perfect. Hunting perfect, Second Amendment perfect, conservation perfect, outdoor nature lifestyle perfect. So why would you? I remember in Outdoor Life, it said, don't wear camo and don't bring it up at the cocktail party. Whenever when I don't go to cocktail parties, the only cocktail party I go to is during pheasant season. A lot of guys go, all right, cocktail pheasants. Anyhow, the only thing decent from China, ringneck pheasants. Anyhow, so that's what we should do. But you have to be a gentleman. Well, he's a Wago Tango. I'm a gentleman. I'm conscientious. I care. I have the greatest kids, the greatest grandkids, the greatest wife, the greatest friends. And everywhere I go, people of every imaginable walk of life, every color, every creed, every socioeconomic strata, they come up and thank me for promoting their beloved hunting lifestyle and their Second Amendment. Because I'm approachable and I'm not afraid to talk about these controversial things, because my goal, and I said it over 50 years ago, that hunting should be as embraced and celebrated as golf and tennis. Even more so, because golf and tennis destroys wildlife habitat. Hunting saves it. So these are the kinds of things why nobody debates me anymore, because if they try, they have to be the devil's advocate, because I'm Michael the Archangel.
I know you're a busy guy, and like I said, I appreciate the time with us today. I got two other topics real quick I want to run by you. Mainly is your amazing wife, Shemane.
How about Shemane?
And I wanted to ask you, I know we talked to her at the Jerome Country Market Buckpole last November.
She's so special.
She told me she's learned everything about hunting from you.
Because I live it every day, and I talk about it every day.
What have you learned about hunting from her?
Oh, that it's not a man's sport. And that the deer camp shouldn't be just about men. In fact, we should, and I always have. You meet my daughters are awesome. Sasha and I have an annual hunting trip every year, and I'm trying to get all the kids to get involved. Toby's an incredible hunter. Fleetwood's an incredible hunter. Rocco's an incredible hunter, even though I think he's still vegan, isn't he? So I'll kill the animals that eat his food. So Shemane, but she didn't really teach me. I knew instinctively. I had a lot of girlfriends, and they were all 90% of them were city girls, but they were attracted to me because I'm guessing. Well, the music didn't hurt. The sexy guitar licks sure were helpful, but. They were attracted to the outdoorsman, because most of the people at the concerts were, drunk and stoned. Not most, but enough to make you sick, make them sick. And every female in my life has been obviously interested in my bow hunting, in the archery and the venison. And the procedure by which the two are connected. But Shemane, who I married 37 years ago, she is the epitome of the promotional image, a beautiful image, a smart image, an articulate image, a knowledgeable image, because she had never touched a bow before we met in 1988, October 3rd. And she had never even really considered hunting, but she was propagandized by the anti-hunting media, so she was uncomfortable with the idea of taking her life until I pointed to the ribs on the barbecue and said, "Well, that's a dead one. You got a dead one right there." They happened to be bear ribs at the time, but even beef ribs or even lamb. Lamb's my favorite. She instantly understood the cause and effect and the accountability we are obligated to. Yes. That we're eating food that has eliminated life, especially vegans. Vegans kill more stuff than if I traded my bow and arrow in for an A10 warthog, because the farmers that create salads kill everything. Not most things, not a bag limit, not a season limit. Everything needs to die for your salad. Every snake, every turtle, every frog, every shrew, every gopher, every ground squirrel, every rabbit nest. I need to get that plow and that disc and just kill everything. She wants some vegan lunch. But I articulated that on Joe Rogan, and even Joe Rogan went, "Oh, I see what you mean." Well, that's in fact, Taylor Sheridan on Yellowstone quoted my statement about where salads come from, word for word, on the Yellowstone TV show, because he monitors what I do. And this is the truth, logic, and common sense that Shemane delivers in such a special way. I support my hardcore delivery because this isn't a discussion, it's a war. If you're against hunting and nature and God's creation, I'm not going to be cute. I'm not going to be gentle. I'll be articulate and gentlemanly, but you don't fight fire with a booger. You don't bring a doily to a gunfight. I bring an A10 warthog to a dumb fest. That's such a great statement. An A10 warthog to a dumb fest. Look it up. But Shemane delivers it to anyone who might not be attracted to my Ted Nugent style of delivery, which again is why I'm in the Outdoor Hall of Fame. Yeah. It's why I'm in the outdoors, because this is not a counterpoint argument. This is war against people that would end a nature relationship. Yes. So I took it like that, and I attack it like that. But Shemane is so effective. She has a real America's voice, faith and freedom. Just the fact that her podcast is titled Faith and Freedom, and on our SpiritWild TV show for 37 years, The Queen of the Forest, women watch this beautiful, dainty lady with a 30-pound bow killing wildebeest and kudu and zebra. And the average propagandized, brainwashed individual go, "Why would you shoot a zebra? It's a striped deer. You have to manage zebra just like you manage elk. It's just a little prettier." We don't gauge value based on pretty. We gauge value based on sustained yield, habitat carrying capacity, population dynamic, conservation. So she's delivered that message better than any. And then there's Melissa Bachman. Is that Melissa? Awesome.
Wonderful.
And Tiffany, and Ralph and Vicky. The women deliver it, and I'm sure are responsible for the upsurge, the welcomed, final, celebrated upsurge in female and young people participation. Because some people might be put off by my wang dang guitar intensity, which is a shame. You're missing out. But we need to deliver it in all different ways. And she does it in such a wonderful, attractive, pleasant, but truth, logic, and common sense. So yeah, she's the master of that. I couldn't love anything more than I love Shemane Nugent.
And I just wanted to talk a little bit real quick about, you've been so adamant with getting kids involved with hunting.
Yeah, that's the last campfire with Fred.
Yes.
In 1987 in Grouse Haven. He put his hand on my shoulder. He goes, "You just keep doing it." He said, "I think I told you this. Yep. This is amazing." He said, Fred Bear said to me, in October of 87, on the lane at Grouse Haven in Rose City, he said, "Every sporting event I go to, everybody under 40 comes up and asks me if I know Ted Nugent." Because I've been shooting the bow and arrow on stage, flaming arrows on a rock and roll concert. That's how you get kids' attention. Not a review of the history of the 30-06. You don't get kids' attention that way. In fact, you scare them away. You look like you're not having any fun. Does anybody smile when they talk about guns? I do. So when he told me that, he said, "You just keep doing what you're doing." He said, "Ted, you're a great man. I've never met anybody that gets our conservation story across to so many people." So then he died that next April, was it? And that's when the song blew up, and the tears and the celebration of getting to know a man for all those years. And that's when I started the Ted Nugent Camp for Kids charity. It was a direct result of what Fred said to me on that October lane in 87. And we've graduated tens of thousands of boys and girls between 7 and 17 that many of which came from hunting families, but just as many came from almost an anti-hunting city life. And as soon as that inner city kid, he doesn't want to go fishing. I take the, all right. And then he sees the bobber go down. I got one. And they start flinging arrows, and all of a sudden they get close to the bullseye. I go, let me do another one. Let me try another one. You can't get the bow and arrow out of their hands. So it's contagious once we introduce it to them. So all my volunteers, Paul Malone and Kevin Mark and Roger and Carol, Colorado bow hunters, Iowa bow hunters, Nebraska bow hunters, Bruce Cull, the National Field Archery Association, Ward Parker, and all the volunteers, they're the ones that keep the Ted Nugent Camp for Kids alive. It's a nonprofit, strictly volunteer, and it's what we love so much is contagious if it's delivered in a positive, upbeat setting. And
they're very proud too. We were at the buck poll last year. I know someone came up to you and he was like, that was part of your Camp for Kids and stuff, and that's really cool that they stuck around. They're still out hunting and stuff.
Yeah, I'm an old man, but the kids love my enthusiasm. The very enthusiasm that turns off goofballs and he's rude. Well, it's enthusiasm. I'm having fun. That's what attracts the young people. They go, well, he's like, why? He's crazy. He's rude. He's loud. You're bad for our sport. You're like a doofus. No kids are going to come up to you. I like to hunt during the rut. Well, that's that's exciting. These guys are sleeping. Yeah. Don't be sleepy. If you love it, show your enthusiasm. That attracts young people. So I know what I'm doing here.
If you saw a father and son first time in the, like say, one of the sporting goods stores and young child, what one advice would you give to that father in the upbringing?
The most important point you brought up. Slow down. Slow down. Don't push that kid because you love hunting so much. You know, one of the greatest hunters, maybe the greatest hunter in the world, a young man named Theodore Tobias Nugent. Because I said, Toby, you want to go? No, Dad. I go, okay. I come back all excited and help me drag a doe out of the swamp in Concord. This is exciting for a young. Then he found his instinct to pursue it because he saw the enthusiasm, not to mention the venison, and the joy that his old man was experiencing, which typically a young person, especially a child, your son or daughter, will instinctively go against what their father does. I don't know why that exists, but it does exist, right? Well, I see some of these TV shows where the father's going, no, not yet. Here, let me turn your scope down. I can't see anything, Dad. Well, you can't see anything if you're that far from the scope. And here, let me take the safety off. Not yet. Wait, hang on. Not yet. Oh, no, wait till you turn. Let him turn around. What is he doing in the deer stand if you're now just teaching him the fundamentals? If he doesn't know how to take the safety off and not go click, go. Big difference. Yep. Pushing a click, that deer in a Michigan, he's out of here if he hears that click. There's nothing scarier to a deer in Michigan than the sound of a metal click. Yeah. So go slow. And most important, start him off with a 22 bolt action single shot where he's got to know the mechanics and use 22 CB cap, if you can. I mean, that's the ultimate. CB cap may be a little chipmunk gun where he's got to do that and make him dry fire. Let this guy discover when click happens. Make him do it 100 times. Get the sights up so there's nothing to put a CB cap in there. Still put eyes and ears on, but that CB cap will go, it's not dangerous, no recoil, and he'll see that target that shows the bullet impact, and he'll get turned on because he can know the next shot I can get closer to the bullseye. Go slow and easy, but just because he can shoot a 22 bolt action at 20 yards on the range doesn't mean he's ready to go deer hunting yet. And if it's a bow and arrow, my God, if anybody draws a bow like this, that ain't bow hunting. That ain't archery. That's weightlifting. That kid, Mike Morelli's, God rest his soul, managed Cerritos safaris on the Kennedy Ranch. Oh, talking about heaven on earth. His little boy, Mike Jr., was 6 years old, and Mike had the state record of non-typical, which is awesome. But on the Kennedy Ranch, you can kill them with a baseball bat. My favorite deer in the world. They're not afraid of anything. Well, that's not fair chase. Well, whatever. It's how the deer act. Have you ever hunted the South Texas?
No, I haven't.
Oh my goodness, deer are asking for it. So anyhow, my point is, with a 20-pound child's bow, 6-year-old Michael Morelli's killed 2 deer on opening day with a 2-blade broadhead because he was trained, and Mike wouldn't take him hunting till he hit the vitals every time within 20 yards. Not most of the time, every time. So don't let him go based on dad's preferences. Monitor that kid's development of marksmanship, stealth, being quiet in the blind, knowing the target, knowing the vitals, knowing when to shoot, when the leg's forward, when it's broadside, and get behind the shoulder. Study, there's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
A lot. And don't set that kid stand up. Make him set it up. That's what we love of it. It isn't releasing the arrow or shooting. It's all that is part of our soul.
We were talking about that this morning. It's more than just the animal on the ground. It's the camp setting. It's the camaraderie, and it's just everything.
If you set up everything for your kid, and all he has to do is pull the trigger, shame on you. That kid has no idea what we feel or what the attraction is. So make them earn it. That's why I don't believe in an early youth season. The most important recipe for enthusiasm in deer hunting is to get skunked a few times.
Done that many times.
That increases the anticipation and the excitement level. So that's my advice, and I know it's accurate. I see a lot of these parents that push their kids into it, and the kids are less than enthused because they haven't felt any sense of accomplishment. Or you can't hit that vital every time in that 3D target. Yeah, can't hunt this year, son. Oh, I really want to. Then practice more. And let's make sure your form is right. Make sure that bow is smooth and graceful, and that you got these hand-eye coordination, spirit control. And if you're using a release or fingers, whatever you're doing, that you can hit that vital every time. And that's the sense of accomplishment that drives us. I'm sure of it.
Well, I wanted to thank you for the time you gave us to sit down here and for the invite to this amazing
Well,
place
anytime you bring Pete Cosifas and the Sandys.
Yeah, we got Pete and Troy Sandy here, and Tudor and his Katie's here, and just been a fun trip here. And
I use the term blood brothers. We're blood brothers. That's a special connection. So we love our place here. It's paradise. And let me finish with this. Fair chase. We're on SpiritWild Ranch. It's a high fence because we have exotic animals, and by law and just by sense of responsibility, you can't let oryx run downtown. We have breeding populations of scimitar horned oryx. There's more oryx in Texas than in Africa because landowners saw the value and the beauty and the possibility of game versus goats and longhorns. So we dedicate our acreage to wildlife. So we got a breeding population of scimitar horned oryx, delicious and magnificent animals. And we have hunters come every year because they keep having babies. And it doesn't matter whether it's 300-acre SpiritWild Ranch or 1,200 acres of Michigan swamp. The habitat can only support X. Right. You have to harvest the surplus productivity every year. So oryx, blackbuck antelope from India, there's more blackbuck in Texas than in India. And they're fantastic. And axis deer from India, there's more axis deer in Texas than there is in India. We have Saika deer from Formosa in Japan, breeding population. We have fallow deer that Jackson just had that magnificent antler. We have a lot of white-tailed deer, hogs, turkey, quail, and pheasant because I buy them and put them here. And they're wild.
We saw a couple pheasants yesterday.
It's like 1970 all over again. It's just fantastic. So anyhow, my point is that quit with the canned hunt insanity. You people are insane. I hunt the Manistee National Forest. You ready for this? This is going to blow people's minds. This is a beautiful big fallow, magnificent bone, huh? We got a lot of magnificent stags. So anyhow, I hunt the Manistee National. Well, he's a rich guy. He gets to hunt his private ranches and deer farms. I hunt the Manistee National Forest. And you want to know, I kept records. I kept a journal for almost 40 years. And do you know, Dale, my Michigan deer hunting buddy, that my records prove that I had more shot opportunities in the Manistee National Forest. I have food plots. I started food plots before there was a term food plot. I would take my three-wheeler and a bed spring, and I put rye and oats and wheat and triple 19 fertilizer in a little spot in the woods, and it was emerald green, and that's where all the deer came. I would have more. This is going to blow people's minds because I hunt every day. Okay? I hunted today. I'll hunt tomorrow. I got a squirrel this morning. Jackson's the greatest squirrel hunter. I hunt every day. I monitor my deer every day, even before trail cameras. And I don't use trail cameras to pick a spot to hunt. I use the wind and the sun and observations. I walk my deer ground every day. I had more shot opportunities in the Manistee National Forest than I did on my Sunrise Acres high fence. So is it you don't like easy deer? Because then we'd have to shut down South Texas. We'd have to shut down the farms next to the Illinois Forest Preserve because those are easy deer. Those are easy deer to hunt. If you hunt in Michigan and then go to a guy who's smart enough, and I know the guy's smart enough, who bought a big farm and plants alfalfa and clover and soybeans and corn and food plots right next to the no hunting state forest preserve, those are the dumbest deer. My favorite deer is a dumb deer. I'm owed a dumb deer because Michigan deer are so berserk. So they're afraid of their own shot. I've seen deer at 200 yards scatter because a turkey showed up. They've got to know that there's a turkey in the woods. You know what I mean? You guys hunt Michigan deer. So would everyone take a deep breath? And I know some people are too stupid to ever be honest. Some people are just too stupid to ever be honest. And they'll condemn canned hunts. It's not a canned hunt. It's not fish in a barrel. My Sunrise Acres, fair chase. Well, it's in a high fence. So I don't see any fence. And when you hunt, how about that state record a couple years ago killed on 4 acres over there? Well, on the 4 acres, there's a school there. And there's a building there, Rouge River. There's kids playing here. There's highways. Everything is finite. Right. What role does the fence play in getting an arrow into a deer? And let me answer that question. It doesn't play a role. Nobody uses a fence to kill a deer. We use a fence to manage the population because some people like big antlered animals. I get a kick out of a yearling doe. In fact, the yearling doe is the best animal to kill because it'll be a bad mother. It'll give birth and it'll be a bad mother. So I kill the young does. It's the best venison in the world. And I let the strong matriarchs that are the experienced mothers have my fawn crop. Now, I can't control that completely, but I can at least mitigate those fawns will give birth to a fawn, and those are the majority of animals that die. Those are the majority of animals that get sick. Those are the majority of animals that suffer and die because the fawn doesn't know how to really take care of a fawn. Now, some do, but I don't know if there's any biologists out there that know this, but I know this because I walk my ground every day. And when a fawn gives birth to a fawn, sometimes it's just a bad mother, especially if it's a cold, wet spring. Anyhow, so would we all, the smart people out there, and most of them are, take a deep breath. Are there canned hunts? Well, sure. And there are priests that molest children, but that's not the priesthood. If I was invited to a breeding operation, guy had a 300-inch whitetail. Would you like to come? We got some giant bucks that walk this one area by the pond. I go, yeah, why not? This freak, wham! I shot him. But do I want to go back there? No. I want challenge. And on my SpiritWild Ranch and on my Sunrise Acres in Michigan, they're high fence. It is absolutely free range, fair chase. Well, not free range, there's a fence. Everything has everything. Right. There's buildings and highways and schools and everything. There's a parking lot. They're not going to go on the parking lot, so you can probably get a funnel where the parking lot meets the woods you're hunting. Is that fair, chase? Well, you ambush them. That's what we do. Bow hunting is ambushing deer. Well, like some leader of an archery organization one time, like gangsters in camo ambushing deer. Well, I'm in camo. I'm not a gangster, and of course that's what we do. Is we use the scouting and the wind and the sun and the cover and the best tree and the best location. It's what I do. I ambush deer with a sharp stick to feed my family. That our own guys would actually find fault with that is so embarrassing. The lack of honesty, the lack of sophistication, the abject stupidity of some people in our sport. So when I hunt, I feed every day. I got food plots. My food plots are awesome. Yeah, God loves me. He just rained on all my food plots. Whitetail Products GoneWild.com. The buck muffin. We have mad scientists in our sport that are creating these super nutritious, supplemental, digestible products of super beneficial supplemental feed for deer. I love them all. What Lucky Buck in Michigan, so many great mad scientists. Who does? I've always had bird feeders. Well, it's not fair to feed the birds. Oh, would you please just stop? Here while we're talking, all these birds. I have 66 species of bird life on my property. 66 different species. And I know them all by song and flight. And same with my deer. I have feeders, Boss Buck feeders, and Witt Farms. I have so many mad scientists that create these wonderful products. And I love to see the wildlife. But before there were any of these mad scientists creating this super nutrition, I just, on a hunch, I didn't know anything about it, but I bought some wheat, oats, and rye, triple 19 fertilizer, dragged a bed spring around the edges of the Manistee National Forest where my northern cabin is, and all of a sudden this green showed up, and here comes the deer, because it's only green in the woods. Yeah. So is that not fair chase? Well, of course it is. I hunted with Fred Bear for over 20 years. He put corn, carrots, and sugar beets at every stand. Fred Bear hunted bear with bait. He hunted deer with bait. He hunted elk at a wallow. Rattling antlers, rattling horns, and buck grunts, that's bait. It's audible. It's audio bait. What are you doing when you're trying to attract the animal close for a shot? That's the definition of bait. I'm so sad that some of our own guys are that stupid. So everybody have a nice hunt. Crossbows, longbows, atlatls, spears. Tim Wells, what a killer he is. Rifles, shotguns, muzzleloaders, handguns. Have a nice hunt. We need to kill deer. The deer need us to kill the surplus every year. Hammer the DNR in Michigan because they are not our friends. They are violating their own law of science-based regulation. There is no science-based regulations. There aren't any. And if you want to debate me, Chad Stewart, or any of you NRC people, Becky Humphreys, come on my Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire podcast and explain the science behind bear hunting, but you can't have a bird feeder in your yard. Oh, yeah, that sounds like a balanced herd to me. It's just embarrassing. Michigan DNR embarrasses real conservation families, and we're really fed up with it. So get more active. Speak up. We don't need a 1-buck rule. You can kill 3 bucks in Iowa and they shoot some big bucks. If you want a big buck in Michigan, wait for one. Hunt the first week of November as hard as you wait for your vacation time the first week in November, maybe the second week in November. That's when the bucks are going nuts. And everybody there are big bucks all over Michigan.
There are. Every year at my page, I continually get more and more big deer pictures, some really, really nice bucks.
But if you want a big deer, I would recommend you leave the rest of us alone. You're not in charge of our happiness. You can't possibly think that you can tell us what is a trophy. And again, I've said it before. I have a button buck, a big one. I have a button buck on the wall of my cabin. That is a trophy, and I can tell you how much the Corlock ammo cost at Luke's Corner. I can tell you what I was wearing, which way the wind was blowing, at Herman Survivor's boots in the Manistee National Forest, November 15th, an hour after sunrise. I shot what I thought was a doe. I had a doe tag, and it turned out to be a button buck. I had it mounted. Yeah. It's To me, that was a moment of infamy. Then the next year, I got my first doe with a bow, and it was a yearling, about 80 pounds. That's mounted. That's on the wall. So who could possibly be so nasty to tell anybody else what a trophy might mean to us? Shame on you. We don't need a $1 rule. In fact, I think we should be able to shoot more. Because if you shot one up in the Porcupine Mountains, how does that affect the deer herd in Wayne County? Of course it doesn't. So if you want to, nobody goes across the straits anymore because the wolves and the bears and the winters kill more deer than the hunters do. And Richard Smith can tell you how to make that right. But anyhow, Michigan used to be the #1 hunting state, and now, thanks to the bureaucrats, it's an embarrassment. The law says you have to let a ribeye in the sky rot in the field. Shame on you, DNR. Shame on you. Every other state has laws against wanton waste. In Michigan, it's the law to waste a ribeye in the sky. Shame on you. But for the record, I shoot sandhill cranes and I eat them. Take me in front of a jury and I'll eat your lunch. Shame on you.
I've kind of looked at, if you're doing hunting right, your first deer till however old you are, the deer you took last year should have the same excitement.
And it does. You can tell.
If you're doing hunting, and that's what you're doing it right. Yep.
And I think because of my rock and roll escape and my media pounding the evil communists that infest our government and our society, I fight these evil forces, and then God rewards me with a 4-hour silent tree stand. I will be in the tree this afternoon. There's hogs and there's exotics. And there's varmints, there's mountain lions and gray fox and red fox and coyotes and bobcats, and I hunt them year round. And so I hunt every afternoon, and I'm really, really uppity. I know I'm uppity. I like uppity. I like enthusiasm. But boy, do I magically absolutely shut it down. Now I keep that radar on red alert, but I breathe easy. My mind is clear. I do have some musical moments. And I think about what's coming up, but mostly the spirit of the wild. Yeah. It cleanses the soul. Yes. And I think that's the goal.
And that's been my goal the whole time, really, with the hunting page. I just really want people to experience what we experience.
Yep. Good for you. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for creating Michigan Deer Hunters.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, the world's greatest shed hunter, Jackson Nugent, Jaxon. I have the greatest hunting dogs.
Well, you got to definitely let us know what's going on, or continue with the time-wise with the Hall of Fame and everything. We're, definitely
you should be there. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'll say. We want to make sure we'll be there.
Because you should all be there.
Yeah, definitely. We'd love to do that.
Very, very special day. I'm going to play Fred Bear, and I'll probably play I Just Want to Go Hunting, and the song My Bow and Arrow, which people are always contacting me and thanking me for those musical representations of their love of this lifestyle. So it'll be special. I'll be on August 8th. I'll be at the Bass Pro Shops in Springfield, Missouri, being inducted into the Legends Hall of Fame and given an award for Outdoorsman of the Year. So it's so cool. Yeah. And meanwhile, I'll probably just say when I accept the Legends of the Outdoor Hall of Fame and Outdoorsman of the Year and the Michigan Outdoor Hall of Fame, I'll probably look in the camera and go, "Hey, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, fuck you." You can edit that to your preference.
That's why we love you, Ted. Yeah, you got a lot of fans. I know my page loves you, and I know we all love you. And we once again are thankful for your invite.
You bet, man.
Coming in. We really appreciate it.
You bet. Anytime you're with the Sandys, you're all right.
Really shout out Troy and his son. Pete's here with us, and we just really got a lot of good guys around us and girls, and we're just glad we could.
We're signing guitars. Today. We're signing guitars for charities. We're signing stuff for different charity organizations. So I got to get back at that. I just saw Bob drive by with a whole bunch more guitars. Okay. I signed these guitars for children's charities, military charities, law enforcement charities, a lot of conservation organizations. So that's what I do. I do it every day. I autograph stuff every day. People value it and they make donations. And then we go kill a squirrel, don't we? Thank you for everything, Todd. You bet, man. Godspeed the Blood Brothers.
Awesome. Thanks again.
You get him, Jackson, man. Thank you, Ted. Jackson, you
get him. We can end right there then. We're good. Thanks again, Ted.
You bet, man.
Appreciate it.
See you.